It's not so much what you say as the manner in which you say it. It's not so much the language you use as the tone in which you convey it. Come here, I said, and the child cowered and wept. Come here, I said. He looked and smiled, and straight to my lap he crept. Words may be mild and fair, and the tone may pierce like a dart. Words may be soft as the summer air, but the tone may break the heart. For words come from my mind, grow by study and art, but tone leaps from the inner self, revealing the state of the heart. Whether you know it or not, whether you mean or care, gentleness, kindness, love and hate, envy, anger are there. Then would you quarrels avoid, and peace and love rejoice? Keep anger not only out of your words, keep it out of your voice.
Mm.
Isn't that
Ooh,
powerful?
that's good.
How we say things really matters, doesn't it?
It does.
Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. I always wonder, do we have to say it every week? Isn't it obvious?
I hope so.
Unless you're new to this place, we are a podcast for Christian women. My name is Carla Moore, and I'm in Texas, and my friend Kathy Pollard is in Kentucky, and we just get together every week and talk about things that are important to us as Christian women, things that we find interesting, things that we find uplifting, challenging. We've had several challenging episodes lately. Today is going to be a little bit more lighthearted and just hopefully still helpful, but casual. So we are excited about getting together and talking today. And before we do that, we just catch up. So catch me up on what's been going on in life.
Uh,
Nothing?
Yeah, no. Everything's going good. Everything's going good. The first thing that came to my mind when you said that was I almost blurted out, well, I almost died yesterday.
Did you? You didn't tell me this.
Well,
What
it's been
happened?
raining. I lost control of my car driving
Ooh,
into town. Yeah, we've
yikes.
had
Where?
steady rain for the past couple of days. I was going into town, but I went the back way, and Neil told me, he said change the mode on your car because I have a snow and rain mode.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got on the roads, I was like, they look fine. And I was almost to my destination in town, and I hit that. There's like this one curve, and I wasn't even going fast, but my car fishtailed
Mm.
and I almost hit a pole. And so then I overcorrected, which means so I was doing
Mm-hmm.
this whole fishtail back and forth, and I crossed both lanes back and forth. And thankfully, there was only one vehicle, and it was a pickup truck. And he was far enough out to where he probably watched the whole thing, but he had plenty of time to stop. And so when I finally got control of the car, my heart was beating. I kind of waved at that guy like, I'm okay.
Was it ice or rain?
It's rain. It was
Okay.
rain. And but anyway, my hands were just shaking, and
Yeah.
and then I had to tell Neil, and then I had to tell him that I didn't put my car in the right mode like he told me to. Of course, as soon as that happened, I just kind of stopped there in the road for a minute and changed the mode on my car and
Mm-hmm.
drove on. But yeah, when they talk about your life flashing before your
Yeah.
eyes, that was definitely one of those moments. And I don't think I would have been hurt because I wasn't driving fast and there was only that one vehicle. I probably would have banged up my car in this pole.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest thing that came to happening, but still scared me half to death.
Oh, that is scary. That it's good though in a way because you learn from it, and
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Neil
It
didn't
the
say I told you so, did he?
he Yes.
Or
He's no,
that what was
it's
that?
that whole, yeah. How's it go?
Oh, now I can't remember it. The
Study, is
statistics
it
have shown that
yeah.
it could have if I can't even remember it.
Something about the outcome. I don't remember.
Early outcome, I don't know.
Oh, we're terrible.
It's because we don't say that.
We never
We're
would.
not snarky
No,
like
no,
that.
I got the Kathy.
I could just hear him saying that.
Well, the scary part about it was that car felt so strong and heavy, and for me to not have any control of it whatsoever,
Hmm.
like it was not responding and it was just whipping me back and forth. That was a horrible feeling. That
Yeah,
was a terrible, terrible feeling.
yeah. I remember when the boys were learning to drive, and I said to them several times, there are going to be times that you nearly die, and I really don't want to know about it.
Mhm.
It's just scary because those things you learn from, like, you're going to
Mhm.
change the way you think about that next time you drive that corner, especially.
Oh
But,
yeah.
oh, just don't want to know things like that. So you shouldn't have told me.
Yeah.
Now I'm worrying about you.
Oh, yay. No, but other than that, let me see. I jotted down. Here's one for you. I tried pimento cheese and I liked it.
Good.
Went to a place called the Bike Rack Bistro with Jennifer Harrison and Ashley McGuire, and one of their sandwiches made me think of you. It was a grilled pimento cheese sandwich with raspberry preserves.
Okay, I don't think I would like the raspberry, but I would like the grilled pimento cheese sandwich.
And it was made with real cheese. You know, when I took that first bite, like cheese was stringing out like that, and it was
So you ordered it?
delicious. I ordered it. I said, I'm gonna try it. It was delicious. There
I'm
you
so
go.
proud of you.
Thank you. I was hoping
I'm
you'd
not
say that.
surprised. I'm not surprised. You try things more easily than I do. But I'm always afraid to order something that I don't know that I'm going to like because, especially if it's a place I've been before and I already know what I like. Because what if you don't like it and then you've wasted your whole order? But there's
Yeah.
this thing that you
I
know you
liked it.
like and you didn't get it.
True, true. I like to try new things though.
Yeah.
And since we're already talking about food, I'll go ahead and show you. I don't know if you'll be able to see all of it here, but do you see this big ginormous thing that's
Is it
bigger than my
chocolate?
face? This is chocolate. For those of you not watching, it's a Western cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Bigger than my head. It weighs a ton and it is solid chocolate.
Is it good chocolate?
It tastes good. This is a birthday present from Lori Debris. She filled those Wilton cake pans.
Mm-hmm.
She has one in the shape of a boot, and she filled it with chocolate for Neil's birthday. So that's
So
what this
are
thing
there any
is.
nibble marks off
Yeah,
of it
right
anymore?
there. He started at the top, so the top of the boot's missing.
Teeth marks.
Yeah, this thing is. I need to weigh it on the scale and see exactly how many pounds of chocolate this is.
Nice. That's a good
Yeah, so
present.
fun. And she delivered it to the house. She was like, "Are you home? Can I swing by is this a good time to swing by?" And she walked in with a chocolate boot.
Yeah.
How fun is that?
That's pretty amazing present. I could go for that.
Very sweet.
Mine would need to be a sandal though, I think.
Yeah. Which wouldn't be as much chocolate.
Well, it'd be a really thick soled sandal.
Yeah.
So how was his birthday?
It was fun. Yeah, all the kids came over and spoiled him and oh, okay. The best part about it. So for each of our kids' birthdays, Neil always writes them a poem. Well, this year, all three of the boys wrote Neil a poem on their
55.
own. And it was very,
so it
very
wasn't
sweet.
one big one, it was one from each of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was perfect because there were parts in there I'm reading it and just wanting to bawl my eyes out. And then they'd stick in something funny, to lighten it up a little bit. So
it's not surprising at all. They're thoughtful.
It was very sweet. What's up with you?
Good. Well, let's see. Did you watch Super Bowl?
Nope. I didn't.
I didn't either. But we took the opportunity. We're starting to do that dinner for 8 that we've been talking about forever.
Yeah.
A friend, one of the elders and his wives, and we and us, I think, Grammar, whatever.
I don't know.
The 4 of us, and they invited to, and we invited to, and it was fun. We enjoyed it. We had the Super Bowl on in the background, but I think occasionally they turn around and look and see the score, but we just weren't all that interested in it. I don't know if I've sent you this recipe, but it's one that I got from Melissa. It's green chili tacos, chicken tacos.
Oh yeah, you shared that on the podcast.
Oh yeah, those are so good. And we had that.
It looks good. I haven't made it yet.
Queso. But... Yeah. Oh, it's one of our favorites because it's different. Like you bake them, so you don't build them on your own. You fix them ahead of time and then bake them, and the cheese kind of gets crispy on top of the shell. And so we had that, and then just different little snacky foods. Also, Jackson got braces this week. That's blowing my mind because he's 8.
Yes, and he's not supposed to be old enough for braces.
Well, I thought that's pretty early, but then I think I was 8 when I started on the mine. So, so yeah, it was his little face with those big, what stretches their mouth apart when they get the braces on. That kind of blew my mind. And then I have something that so embarrassing to tell you.
Oh, goody.
And did not tell you on purpose because I figured I would just save it for the podcast and embarrass myself in front of everybody. And it has to do with Hiram Kemp.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So back up a little bit. In the group a couple of days ago, two different people, Lisa Morgan and Leslie Hamby, both shared that podcast that, in our topic this last week, or actually it's this week, about prayer. And it was
Four
four
preachers in
preachers.
a podcast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I thought, well, I'm going to start that. And so I was working in the office and just doing some things, and I had it on in the background. I started with the first one that's called what does the Godhead do when I pray?
Mhm.
And so, as you can imagine, there's some kind of sticky little different situations and things that it was almost a little funny. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it was almost a little funny how they were all, there's four of the men, and they're all kind of like dancing around, not dancing around, but they're trying to say things the right way that
I
other
just
people
pictured
are.
that.
The four of those men dancing. Yeah, that would be a sight. But they're just trying to find the right way to say what they want to say without being misunderstood.
Mhm.
And so at one point, somebody asked Hiram what he thought about it. And so he said something, and then he said, and I wrote this down so I remember it right. He said whatever he said, and then he said, "You don't have to dump a pound of caveat sauce on it." So think about that. You don't have to dump a pound of caveat sauce on it. In other words, when you say something, we will say, well, I don't mean this and I don't mean that. And this is what that a caveat.
Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah, just say it. And I just thought it was funny. You don't have to dump a pound of caveat sauce on it. So I just texted him and I quoted it. And I said, that's great. Next time I'm in a sticky situation, I'm going to use it. And then that was it. He wrote something back, and I was done with that. So I didn't think anything more about it. But last night at about, I don't know, 11 o'clock, I was getting ready to pull my iPad out and start reading from my book on my iPad. And when I opened it, it opened to that text conversation. And I didn't really pay any attention what I was doing, but I don't know if you know, but at the very top right hand of the screen of your texts on your iPad, or maybe even on your phone, there's this little icon of like FaceTime. And apparently I pushed that. And keep in mind that it's 11:15 at night. And all of a sudden, I didn't see it at first, but all of a sudden I start hearing the phone ringing noise, like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm like, what is it? What is it? Where is it? Who am I calling? And I look down, and it says calling Hiram Kemp. And I'm like trying to find buttons to push to turn it off on the iPad, and I could not for the life of me find anywhere to turn it off. I tried turning the screen off. I tried closing my iPad. Nothing. Nothing. It kept, and John was over there going, what's that? What's going on? I'm like, it's just my iPad. So I thought, okay, maybe I shut it in time. Maybe I got it turned off, because it finally quit making that noise. And I thought, this was such an old lady thing to do.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes,
Old
because
people
we
problems.
tease our parents forever about pocket dialing or whatever. So about 3 minutes later, I got this text, and all it said was accidental ? I said, yes, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to go in the whole long thing about why it happened and like, why in the world would she be calling me at 11:15 at night? And I don't know if it was FaceTime or not, but it was a little video camera icon. So
Yikes.
oh,
He could have caught you in your pajamas.
Anyway, you could have left that sentence off. That was
I can't wait to talk about that when I see him tonight.
But you can explain to him how it happened, because I'm like, how do you even explain why in the world that happened?
That's so funny. Your face is red.
Yeah, I'm sure it was last night too. And I'm sure I'll do it again at some point. But the thing is, anytime John picks up my phone, if I'm showing him something on Instagram, whatever, I hold the phone and I just point to it. And if he tries to take it from me, I'm like, let me just hold it. Because he'll like double tap something so that he can see it, not knowing that means you like it on Instagram.
Right.
or he'll add friend for somebody, or, there's just all kinds of situations that I don't
Mhm.
trust him with my phone. And here I am the one, not even pocket dialing, but anyway, that button
Uh,
needs to not be there. I don't know why that button's there.
I'm just laughing thinking about your moment of panic when you realized what happened.
Yeah,
And you're
and could not find an off
frantically
button
frantically
anywhere.
trying to turn it off.
In fact, I'm gonna write myself a note to find the off button so I don't have, if that happens again. Oh, it was
Put a little
embarrassing.
post-it note on your screen with an arrow. Don't touch this.
Don't touch this. Yeah.
Can't touch
Oh
this.
man. Okay. Anyway, that
Oh,
was
that's a good one.
that was my embarrassment for the
Uh,
year, hopefully.
yeah, that's a good one.
I'm sure he will never let me let that down either. He was very gracious last night, but I don't expect that he'll be so gracious next time I see him.
I wonder if he told Neil at work
Well,
today.
we'll see. So on to the next. I found a quilt that I
Oh,
love.
that's pretty.
Isn't it beautiful? I love the back.
Yes.
It's a Pottery Barn quilt.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got it for $11.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to go on one of the beds in the back room. I've got it washed and everything already. Found it at our Goodwill here. And I also found have you seen, you're going to need one of these. It folds up like a chair that like you carry to the ball field, but it's a
Hmm.
cot.
Oh,
And Jackson and Emmy slept on those for a long time when they would go, come here, or they would bring up
mhm.
their little cots in a sleeping bag. So that was $7. I found one of those and I'm going to keep it here for
Wow.
grandkids. Yeah. So it's been a good thrifting week.
That's a beautiful quilt.
It is. I love
Hmm.
it. I
Hmm.
haven't like identified it, but I know it's a Pottery Barn and they're
Hmm.
always just well made. I just like their stuff. I like the style of their stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway,
It looks like you.
thanks.
Yeah.
You got any gardening
Uh,
going on?
no.
Still a little
I
too early, isn't it?
Yeah. I did want to say though that you were right about the round table.
Wait, can you say that again?
I did want to say though that you were excuse me, about the round table.
What about it?
Um, because we talked last time and I said something about the first three episodes being free, and you said no. I think he said they were releasing the first three
Yeah,
episodes, and you were right. So
the
the
first one's
first
free.
one's free. They're releasing the first three. The first one's free, and then the date was what did he say? March 8th,
March 3rd, I'm pretty sure.
March 3rd. I'm just getting it all wrong
So I'm right and you're wrong.
again.
I'm almost positive it's the 3rd, but we can share that next week.
Yeah.
And that isn't for another 2 or 3 weeks anyway, so we'll have time
Mhm.
to share it some more.
Get our facts right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And obviously they're going to they already have a lot more good content on that channel. It's not obviously just us. It's
Yes.
not the round table 24/7, but they have
Mhm.
a round table that they did with men. It was Joe Wells, Garrett Bernethy, Steve Shinnerer, Denny Petrillo, and oh, I know his name, and it just left me. Claybaugh, Billy Claybaugh. And so they talk about preaching, and they have subjects that are more relevant for preachers. But anyway, they have lots of good content on that channel. It's worth the subscription. So we'll just encourage everybody to check them out. exceltv.com, I believe, is where you can sign up.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to throw that out there that you were right and I was wrong.
Well, I was right, and you were just a little bit less right because you were in the general ballpark.
Also, since we're talking about me being wrong about things, I shared the Verses app,
Mhm.
for memory work and stuff. And my goal this year was to get back into memorizing scripture. And so I'm playing games and all, but I feel like I have just developed this retention problem because it's not sticking. And
Mhm.
I'm trying so hard. And I've even, when you take just the first letter of each word to
Mhm.
learn something. So I'm taping it to my kitchen window because even if it's a day when I'm not cooking, I'm at that kitchen window multiple times a day, putting my coffee cup in the sink or whatever I'm doing. And so every time I see it, I go through the verse. And sometimes first thing in the morning when I come down and see it, I can just rattle it right off. Later in the afternoon, I come down there and I'm going, what's that P word again? Is it pattern, plan, path? Just and so and I'm trying to build, like learn a couple verses and then learn a different verse. And I feel like I can't even get that first one, the first couple of verses lodged enough to where I can just rattle it off without stopping. Like, and it's been how long that I've been working on this, and and I'll go, okay, how's that one start again? Just
hard.
I don't know why it's so hard. I guess because Neil would say I haven't worked that muscle, that once you start memorizing, and it makes it easier, the more you do it, the easier it gets to memorize things. And it's true. I haven't really done a lot of memorizing anything recently. So I guess I was very out of shape with my memory muscle.
The memory muscle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to be better about that. I haven't done enough of that. I have a lot of them in there, but
I do too.
Can't really grab them out.
Memorized before.
Yeah.
And my plan was to just have one up on the kitchen window each week, just one. Once I learned these things, take that one off and put it. But
so you're
I have more than one up there. Yeah, I have more than one up there because I still don't have the first. Oh yeah, I'm trying to do one a week, but when I was going over the first one, Neil, I was trying to say it to Neil, and he goes, the next day he said, so which one are you learning today? And I'm like, well, I'm not learning a new one every day, Mr. Pollard. I'm just learning one a week.
Yeah. Well, even if you did one a month, that would be great, I think. In fact, maybe if you give yourself a little grace and try every 2 weeks instead of every week, and then you have a little less pressure, but it's still a good thing.
Well, I haven't invited any friends to join me in my verses group yet because I don't want to be that one going, wait for me. I still don't know this one.
No, that's good stuff. Well, John just did another, like literally just a little while ago, did another of the land in the book. I mentioned it was my Something Good for You last week. He started with John 4 last week. This week he did John 5 and is talking about the pool of Bethesda. Did that look to you like you expected it to look?
No, and I saw your post about it.
I still can't see in my mind what it would have looked like then, but maybe we're not really supposed to know. I mean, I don't have to know all that, but I just like to have in my mind a picture of what that might have looked like. My favorite thing about that place is the singing next to it, though.
Oh yeah, is that St. Anne's?
St. Anne's.
Yeah. Oh man, some of my favorite memories from those trips.
Yeah, the 4 of us did one there one time. Where is that recording? Do I have that?
Magnificat.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have it. So if you find it, send it to me.
That would have been 2017 or 20. I guess we could have this conversation privately later. Try to find it.
No, I think it was 19 because we sent it to Russell Simpson.
Oh, from there? Okay, so it would have been 19. I'll look back at my videos from 2019.
We hadn't moved here yet, but we were about to, and we sent it to him. So.
Yeah. Well, what we're talking about, we're expecting everyone to understand. It's a church building right next to this site, Pool of Bethesda. It's called St. Anne's, and it's just stone. The acoustics are amazing. So people like literally wait in line to stand kind of in this certain area towards the front of the building. Lots of groups go, and there's pews behind it. So the pews are filled with people waiting their turn to sing. And it just reverberates off of the walls and the ceiling, and it's so beautiful. I just get chills. Sometimes I can't sing because I'm crying.
Yeah, when our group went with y'all, we sang Praise the Lord, and the hallelujah part, it just, when the bass comes in and it just keeps echoing off the walls, it just gives you chills. And then when it was the 4 of us, we sang Magnificat right there at that little, we sounded good.
We did. Maybe if we get the guts, we'll share it.
Thanks to the acoustics.
Yeah, they make it very forgiving.
That's right.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I do not. No, okay. I don't think so.
Well, what we're going to talk about today is we're just calling this episode Life Hacks, just for fun, even though some of them will be helpful and serious, hopefully. But I looked up the definition of life hack, and it's a simple, clever technique or trick that makes life easier or solves a problem. So I was just thinking, trying to come up with a topic, and you have to, when we're deciding what we want to talk about, you have to feel something. If you don't feel something about what you're talking about, then it usually is kind of flat and boring. And hopefully
And we
we're not
actually
that way
have,
anyway.
there's been a couple times when we pulled an audible, like the
Yeah.
night before. I'm just not feeling it. Let's do this instead.
Yeah. Because sometimes, a lot of times, things happen that week that just
Yeah.
make you think, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, so there's been lots of different situations where things have gone on in life and there's something that I dread and I just put it off and put it off and put it off. And then I finally do it. And I think, why in the world did I put that off? Because it really wasn't that hard. And I should have done it a long time ago. And then I would have gotten all that brain space back that I spent on worrying about it. One of the biggest ones for me is taxes, because I despise doing taxes. And preachers have special weird things that they have to do and report and how to report it. And, I just always feel like there's this policeman driving behind me and I'm not doing anything wrong, or I think I'm not, but I'm like, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but I might be. So that's how I always feel when preparing stuff for taxes. But once I finally just hunker down and do it and spend the 2 or 3 days just immerse, because I try to keep it semi-organized throughout the year. But if I would just set aside, okay, maybe if I just write on my calendar, these 2 days are the days I'm going to spend getting all of this super organized and ready to go. And then I wouldn't have to stress about it, because what inevitably happens is April 15th is here and we file an extension. And then I think, now I have till October 15th. And then I don't do anything about it until September. And it's so dumb, because if I would just take care of it. So that's kind of the things that we're sort of talking about, not taxes, but things to think about to help make your life easier, just to go ahead and do them. Maybe it's just making a phone call that you've been dreading making and you don't want to make it and you just do it. Just make the phone call. One of my things is toll bills. This is so dumb, but I have toll bills from Colorado. I have them from Houston. I have them from Dallas. I have them from Austin. Some people might say, why don't you have a toll tag? Well, I would have four if I had toll tags. So I just do the pay by mail. But then sometimes I get the bill, I toss it on my desk and it gets buried under something. And before long, there's like a $5 late fee attached to it. So if I would just do it, I think that's kind of where I'm going with this. What are some things that if we would just do it, life would be easier? I think that a lot of times they're just little adjustments or corrections in the way that we do things. And we just need a little nudge, or maybe we just need to think about it a little bit differently and just get busy doing it instead of making our lives miserable, wishing that we would have done it. And some of these things that we're going to talk about, at least the ones that I know I've mentioned them before on the podcast and in yours and my private text before. Like I said, shocking as it may be, not everybody listens to every podcast and not everyone remembers everything that we say. Can you imagine? Nobody can see your face except me.
Yes, they do.
Surely they do. So I thought, maybe I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again because I think there's some value to it. But anyway, that's what we're going to do today, is give what we think are some life hacks. They're not necessarily, mine are not ranked in any kind of order. Some of them are pretty important, I think, and others are maybe not, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to let you go first and give us your first life hack.
All right. Well, you used the word clever in your definition. So now I feel like I'm going recalculating.
Everything you do is clever.
Wow. Okay. So my first one is ask yourself if it's time for a breakthrough. It's time for a breakthrough. So let me explain what I mean by that. And as with all things, I usually come up with stuff that I feel like hits me where I'm at. So, is there something weighing you down? you mentioned, kind of made me think about what you were just saying. You mentioned the things that we put off and we don't address, and it just kind of, we still have to do our taxes, we still have to do this. But is there something that's just weighing you down? Is there some area in which you feel stuck or stagnant? You're not growing anymore, you're just stagnant. Then it might be time for a breakthrough. So, what I mean by that, it could be that you have somebody that you're holding a grudge against and you need to forgive finally.
Hmm.
It could be that you've been avoiding a hard conversation, that you've been putting off a hard task because maybe you've never done it before, or it's going to be challenging you in some way, or you're afraid of it.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe that fear has paralyzed you in some important area in a relationship or whatever it is that needs to be addressed. The breakthrough is just go ahead and do it. Whatever that thing is, just go ahead and do it. And that way you can put it behind you. Go ahead and do it this week. Make a coffee date with whoever you need to have that hard conversation with, and have the conversation. Um, Start the journey. If it's something that you just have been talking about forever, it never got started. You keep saying you're going to do this and you never have. Start the journey this week. Let's say yes to the opportunity. Maybe it keeps coming back to you and I don't think that's for me, or you just keep putting it off. Say yes to that opportunity. Whatever that thing is, we've all got something, seems like, that's always just hovering. It's always kind of niggling in the back of our mind. And when we think about it, it gives us a sense of unease or discomfort, or, a little bit of
That
angst.
stomach twist.
Yes, whatever that thing is, just go ahead and address it head on, whatever that looks like and whatever that takes, whatever that niggling thing is in the back of your mind, deal with it. So that's my first one, is ask yourself if it's time for some sort of breakthrough.
So what is it you need to just do?
That's a different episode.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of those things. Just do it.
Yeah.
Making
Yeah.
a breakthrough happen. That would be important. Good one. Okay.
Thanks.
My first one is something that I probably have talked about in a marriage episode, but it's very relevant, I think, with friends and with family and really anybody you have a relationship. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation and you feel with someone, you feel off, or you feel angry, or just, I don't know, afraid. Maybe you're emotional about whatever, and you don't really understand why. And I try to think of a good scenario, and I'm terrible at doing that kind of thing, but sometimes well, I'll just say there's one, like after John's heart incident. He's not very good at answering his phone. He's not very good at answering texts. What he is good at is blocking that out, which I need to be better at. He can still work even if he has his phone making a noise. It doesn't register with him if he's in the middle of working on something. Whereas I'm like, oh, who wants me? Who needs me? I immediately. So anyway, he's just not that way. And after his heart incident, if I texted him and didn't hear back from him right away, it just automatically made me angry. And that was the thing. Like, why am I mad about when he's not responding to me? And I really thought about it, and it was because I was afraid something was wrong, and something had happened to him and I didn't know. So the point of this is to give your spouse or give your friend or give yourself a gift. And to remember how do you say it when they use the first letters of the word? It's not
Is that an
starts
anagram?
with
Is it an anagram? Anagram?
Maybe?
I don't know.
It's one of those A words. I think it's anagram. But GIFT stands for guilt, inferiority, fear, and trauma. So if there's something that's going on that's making you feel angry and you don't understand why you're angry about it, or you don't understand why you're emotional about something, think about it. Or maybe you're getting that response from Neil and you don't understand. And then you have to think back to yourself, hey, is there something about the situation that maybe is making me feel guilt Maybe there's something in your past that maybe it's even something that you've dealt with, but it still brings that memory back and you've got this feeling of guilt. And so it's making you act funny or feel funny or inferiority. And I think this happens a lot of times if this situation, say it's a group of friends that get together and one person maybe feels a little bit, maybe it's the introvert in the group and the rest of people are talking and laughing and having a good time. And this person doesn't feel like she's breaking into the group and she starts feeling angry. Maybe she needs to think to herself, am I feeling inferior to the rest of these people? Maybe that's why I'm feeling angry about this. And maybe realizing that I can do something about that. It's not their fault. They're not intending to make me feel this way. This is something I need to take responsibility for. So consider guilt, inferiority, fear. That's the biggest one usually for me. And I have found that to be the source of a lot of anger that I have. It tends to be fear. And I know that I've said this before, but fear, I was just giving the instance with John not answering his phone. And I think a lot of people have that. Maybe there's a situation in their past that led to something bad happening, even like you're spinning out in your car. Mm-hmm. And the next time you go around that curve, maybe you're in Neil's truck and you get angry because you think he's going a little too fast. Maybe it has something to do with the fear that you felt during that, so pinpoint it to that. And then trauma, something bad happened in your past, a breakup. And so not you're married, but others that may be going through relationships and breakups and that makes them fearful about their next relationship because of something happening in the past, some traumatic thing. So if you can think about those things, the guilt, inferiority, fear, and trauma, and then analyze yourself and think, is there some responsibility that I need to take in this situation? And just, I don't know, there's something about being able to trace it to a reason that makes sense to be able to, okay, I'm being ridiculous, or okay, that makes sense why I'm feeling this way. And I'll think, I'll handle this in a different way. I'm going to approach it in a different way. I'm not going to blame them for the way I'm feeling. And I think that's the main thing is when in a marriage relationship in particular, not blaming John for not picking up his phone right away or texting me back right away because he was busy, but taking responsibility and realizing, okay, if we made a compromise and he said, if you'll just call me, if you call, I will pick up. But if it's a text, I'll just think it's something that I can handle later. So I just think if we understand what's behind our feelings, then it helps us to be more sensitive and compassionate about whoever it is on the other side of that situation. So that would be my first life hack, just to think to yourself, I'm going to give this person or I'm going to give myself a gift, and think about those 4 words and what they might have to do with how we're feeling.
Yeah, and so helpful too, not just for ourselves, but as you said, if you're confronted with somebody else's anger, mm-hmm. and it kind of hits you out of the blue, and you're like, where did this come from? Uh-huh. Where did this come from?
Exactly.
And you kind of run through that list. You probably could say, well, it makes sense that they might be responding from, blah blah blah, mm-hmm. which makes it easier to address or at least understand moving forward. Yeah, that's good.
And if you respond in a better way, then it helps. It just makes, instead of a vicious cycle, it makes for a mm-hmm. much better cycle to happen. So that's my first one.
All right. My second one is I'm calling share the blessings. Share the blessings. And the direction I want to take this with is that it's really one of the easiest ways to serve or encourage others is to simply, in whatever way, in a situation or circumstance that you're being blessed, find somebody else to pull in with you to enjoy that blessing. Mm-hmm. So invite them into your sphere of blessings. So I have an example of running across a verse in the Bible that just hits you just right. You've read that before, but there's just something mm-hmm. about it that makes you pause and read it again. And you're like, oh, that'd be a good one to memorize. Well, think of someone that it might encourage in the moment, just in the moment, and shoot them a text or jot it into a little note and send to them or something like that. And you could say, I saw this beautiful verse and thought of you. Mm-hmm. And that's all there is to it. But It would make them smile. It would uplift them. And all you're doing is sharing the blessing. I ran across it and I'm going to share it with somebody else. Or in your home, think of the part of your home that's your very favorite part of your home. And it might be your front porch. Invite somebody over for a glass of lemonade on your porch. Or if it's your garden, pick some of those flowers and give it to somebody while you're enjoying that blessing. How can you invite somebody into that sphere so they can enjoy it too? If you love spending time in your kitchen, of course, you can make something for somebody, bake them some kind of treat or goodie, or just double what you're already making for your family, to share with somebody else. If you're having brownies, pull aside a brownie or two to give to somebody at Wednesday night after class.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a gift card to a restaurant? That happens every now and then. Well, invite somebody to go with you to enjoy that. Did you receive some unexpected money? Use a portion of it to bring a smile to a child's face in some small way. How easy is it to do that? Pick up a balloon or some random thing. Did somebody comfort you during a trial and that was a much needed blessing? Well, you can look for someone to share that with somebody else who might be struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So, in all these different ways, I try to pick kind of random things, but really, we're continually being blessed. Sometimes we're more aware of it than others. But as we acknowledge them and we enjoy those beautiful blessings from God, we can just think in the moment of somebody that might need that or enjoy that too. And it's really, really simple. So, multiple times a day, we're blessed. And amazingly, it's one of those situations where, it multiplies as you give it away. And so I thought of somebody that just naturally does this, and that is Hillary Hammer. I know she's listening because she listens to the Looking Up podcast, but she is somebody that is continually looking for ways to encourage other people. And it's her heart goes out to groups of people, the teenagers. She wants them all to be close and connected. So what are some things that she can do to make that happen for them? And she'll open up her home and have get-togethers. And the WKU students, this is a crucial time of life, and college kids that's a pretty defining moment for a lot of them. Are they going to own their faith, or, what are some ways that we can make it easier for them to be faithful? And so she thinks of ways to encourage college students. She's always thinking along those lines and always doing for other people. Involved in service projects that help people in difficult situations. That's just who she is. And so when I was thinking about her, I thought some people might look at her or even somebody like her in her situation and think, well, she just lives a charmed life. It's easier for her to do these things. Look at her. She's got it made. She's got this beautiful home and husband and, but if you know her, and I did ask her permission to share this part, and I didn't tell her what I was going to say about her, but I asked her permission. If you know her, she has dealt with more than her fair share of what we would consider very heavy burdens, and still going through some of them. She has difficulties. She has, just like we all do, trials, things in life that she has to deal with and put up with. But she is blessed. There's a big difference between being blessed and being charmed. Living the charmed life. She is blessed, and she naturally shares them with people in her sphere, like that God puts in her path, and just does it so in such a way that makes it feel very welcome, very loving, very natural. So she's the person that comes to mind when I think about it. And I heard her say that she remembers when she and her husband were a young couple, and trying to figure it all out, that she had couples that were just a little bit ahead of her that took an interest in them and sort of took them under their wing and mentored them without them even realizing they were being mentored. And that they wouldn't even be where they are now if it weren't for those loving people that took an interest and stepped in, and helped them. And so that's just what she's trying to do. She just wants to see people and help them. And to me, that's what I'm talking about when I say share the blessings. Those things that come along multiple times a day, multiple times a week, how easy it is to just say, who can I share this with? Who can I invite into this sphere of blessing with me this moment?
The words I think of while you're talking is pay it forward.
Yes.
And, that's something we can all do because we've all had someone that has done something good for us. And we can, do the same thing for someone else, or just take a hint from that, like you're saying. And what is it that how have I benefited from this? Let me see if there's someone else that can benefit from that. In particular, when you were saying a verse that makes you think of somebody, that's such an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just, hey, I was thinking about you. Just any text to somebody that says, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you? Who doesn't love that? To know that they were being thought of and that you took enough time just to send a quick little text. So I think it doesn't have to be big at all. It can be something small like that, but that's a great one to pay it forward, to be a blessing.
That was kind of the emphasis I was trying to go for, so that it would feel like more of a hack. Is I think sometimes that we think it's got to be this, it's got to cost us something, and it's got to take our time, and there are moments for that. We should be generous with financial blessings in our time. There are moments for that, but I also think that we can lift other people in I think a lot more easier ways than we think we can. And just if we do it in the moment when it happens, think about, we use the words refreshing others in recent episodes, and how many times the Bible talks about extending a cup of water. If you water others, you yourself will be watered. If you refresh others, you yourself will be refreshed. And it's just a simple thing. Here I am at the fountain getting some water for myself, and I'm going to get a drink for somebody else too. And to me, that's all it is in the moment. Maybe you run across that verse and you have small children and you say, hey, will you draw a picture of something, and then I'm going to write this verse on it and we'll give it to somebody at church tonight. It's going to make that person's day, but how simple is that? Hardly cost anything, hardly any time. It's just the thoughtful gesture of the moment.
Yeah, I love it. Being thoughtful makes a difference in people's lives. So it's a life hack for you and a life hack for whoever you're blessing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my second one is, you touched on it in your very first. Was that your first one? Yeah. Yeah. Because this is your first one and this is my second one.
I just did my second one.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So this one, whatever number it is, it's my second one. Make it a habit or make it natural to say yes.
No.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that. I would add this caveat sauce here to good things, obviously. That would be kind of a caveat that I would think would be obvious, but I wanted to say that. Make it a habit to say yes. And so what do you think? What are things that make you hesitant to say yes?
That's a real question for me.
That's a real question.
Oh.
Why sometimes do you not want to say yes?
If I feel like something's not in my wheelhouse, and I don't want to let somebody down, or, that's a pride thing, but.
So maybe it is a sort of a feeling of inferiority. You think that somebody else would do it better?
Yes.
But it's a fear, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's so many things that fear does to us in this area that we don't want to say yes. We're scared to say yes to something that challenges us. Maybe we just don't want to. That's probably a big one for me. When time is precious and I think, okay, I have one night this week that we don't have to go somewhere. Do I really want to spend it doing whatever it is that somebody just asked if we would do? And that is a struggle for me. I think that's probably an issue of selfishness, maybe. I mean, I understand that things get crazy and we do need some time to breathe and have a little bit of relaxation. But I think about all of the things in life, when I look back over our life, the things that we said yes to that were scary, and the blessings that have come from that. And what are we robbing ourselves of when we say no all the time? The thing that probably comes to mind the most when I think about this is in 1998, John was given the gift, really, of going to Israel to take a class. But at the time, Jordan was 8, Jake was 6, and Micah was 3 months old. And so when he came home and told me about this, it was one of those situations where there's no way in the world I can say, no, don't do this. But there's also that little part inside that goes, but how am I going to handle all of this by myself while he goes and is gone for a month? And so there's that yes or no. Like I said, there really was no choice, but I could have made a stink about it and said, no, I can't do this on my own. You can't, the time you can do it again later. There'll be a better time when we don't have a brand new baby. But he went, and I think about things that he does now. That trip, that month changed the course of our life. And I'm not saying it was all because I said yes, but because there were things that fears that he had to face, and guilt, I think, that he felt for being gone for a month. But man, how different would our life be? And I feel like I can look back on that one event and see the doors that God opened, because God knew John's love for history, his love for the Bible lands. And it was teeny tiny then, but after he was there, it was like it ignited into this huge thing, and it changed the way he preached. It changed everything. And now we're blessed to be able to go and share it with other people. And that's just something that I will forever look back on and think, if we had not said yes to that, what would our life look like? And I know that God can still bless. Even if we had said no, he would have blessed us in different ways. And I realize that. But I'm so glad that we didn't. And I'm sure that there's things that you can look back in your life and are thankful that you said yes at the time that you may have been afraid to say no. Think about just Bear Valley in 2017 or 2016, I guess, when we made that decision. Here we live in Texas, and neither one of us had ever lived in another state. And it was just a complete new world, but we said yes. And I think of all the friends and the relationships that we've made. You and I had more time to spend together. And I think that it introduced us to a whole lot of different things that we would not have known otherwise. So I'm thankful for that. I think about Proverbs 29:25. The fear of man is a snare, but he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. And that word exalted means lifted over or lifted high. So trust in God with our fears, and he will lift us over those fears. That passage just means a lot to me, because I think I'm a fearful person. I think a lot of times I'm a homebody and a fraidy cat. And God said, no, you're not going to be a fraidy cat homebody. You're going to do some other things, go some other places. And I'm so glad that I'm still afraid sometimes, and I still like to be at home, but I have learned to trust in God in that, and to say yes, because I realize that we've been blessed by that. There's a song that is called Take Another Step. It's by Stephen Curtis Chapman. And there's a section in it that says, if there's an ocean in front of you, you know what you've got to do. Take another step. Maybe he'll turn the water into land, or maybe he'll take your hand and say, let's take a walk on the waves. Will you trust me either way? And I love that, because sometimes there's things that God wants you to say yes to that are scary, and they really are scary. And it's a situation where you're just taking his hand and saying, whether we're going to walk through this water and it's scary and the waves are blowing and crashing, but I'm going to trust you either way. And so I think just learning to say yes, and to good things, and see how God blesses you.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about when we have that knee-jerk reaction. You hear an opportunity or an idea that somebody wants to bring you along in, and your heart starts pounding, and your first reaction is no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's me.
No, thanks. That's not, yeah, I couldn't do that. That's not really, I have a hard time with blah, 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 or whatever it is. It sounds like you're talking about those moments when we're like, I'm not your girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead, change the way you think before you respond, think it through. Maybe it is something that you can do and might even love, and then who knows what God will do with it.
Yeah. We have people that we know that we laughingly say they come from a place of no. Because it doesn't matter what you say, they're going to say, sorry, no, not me, can't do that, or find someone else, or whatever it is. And then there's people that just come from a place of yes. And those people you can count on. I mean, you know people there at one of these days, I'll quit saying Lehman and learn to say Cumberland.
Yeah.
But there's just people that you can count on because you know that they're willing. I think that's maybe a different word to use. Be willing, not just say yes, but be willing to do what God puts in front of you. Do the good things that God wants you to do.
That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Number next.
So my third one is rest your faith on the power of God. And I'm claiming this is a life hack.
It is.
Paul said in 1 Corinthians 2, my message and my preaching were not in persuasive words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. And I think this resonates so strongly with me now because we do have access to so much information out there. A lot of good things, a lot of good material. But how much are we feeding on the Word of God compared to all that other stuff that we're just continually taking in? And, we might think that it doesn't take a toll on our faith, but the Bible kind of teaches that it does. And so rest your faith on the power of God. That's what that verse is saying, that your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. And the word rest here means to exist or be located in. So he's saying, don't build your faith up on anything aside from the power of God. And he includes himself in that, in that wisdom of men category, and but on the message of Christ. And all these things that we hear that are unique or interesting or persuasive or fascinating. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it's powerless. We can be encouraged by things, but there's no power there. If your faith feels a little weak, maybe now or sometimes, or uncertain, then perhaps you've neglected to spend enough time tapping into the right power. And so if you're not sure, here are some questions. Are your convictions based on what you've always been taught or from your own study of the Word of God? When we find ourselves in those scenarios and the questions come up and we feel very strongly about something, but we can't really articulate why we feel strongly about something, religious related. When you listen to or read messages of preachers, do you search the scriptures daily to see whether these things are so? Acts 17:11. Do you spend more time reading the good writings of men or women than you do the Bible? So, and the reason this is so important is because when you get to live as long as you and I have, we can already look back and see those moments in our lives when our faith has been tested, and if we have some and listening audience that are much younger than us, maybe that hasn't happened for you, but it probably has. But you never know. Is this the year when your faith is going to be tested like never before? You have no idea how your faith will be tested this year. So make sure you're resting your faith on the power of God. Make sure you're building your faith on the power of God.
Mm-hmm. I think you and I have had private conversations about this because both of us at different times have had, I don't want to say doubt, but we wonder how we'll react in certain situations. And I think it's one of those times that when I'm feeling weak, you're strong, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And we remind each other that you'll have it. You'll have it when you need it, because we can rest on the power of God, knowing that we can draw on that as a power source, and that when he promises something, he'll deliver. And so that is something, you're right. We've seen it, and I'm sure we'll see it again. It's scary. It's that situation where if you're not in a storm currently, you're probably just coming out of one or you're going into one, but you're not going through it alone. And I just feel so desperately sad for the world that doesn't know that they have that power to draw from. It's like the ultimate power source, and yet they turn their back on it, or they're just not aware of it. So that encourages me to help share and tell people about God, because if they only knew what they're missing out on, why would they not want that to draw on that power source? So,
Well, I'm glad you used the word storm because, you don't really maybe recognize the import of it, how essential it is to rest your faith on the power of God until the storm comes along. And, we do question ourselves, or we might see somebody else going through a storm and think, I don't know how they're holding up. I don't know how I could ever go through something. I can't even imagine trying to go through something like that. And we can't, but God can. Through God we can, if we're resting our faith on His power when those storms come. That's our anchor.
Yeah, knowing that there's not a day ahead that He hasn't seen and already
Yes.
been and knows the outcome of is comforting to me. So, good one.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, my next one is get up, get dressed, and make your bed. There is a
2 out of 3 is not
speech.
bad.
Yeah. And here's another tablespoon of caveat sauce here. I know different situations. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you work away from home and you have to get up and get dressed. Maybe you make your bed or not. But so take this for an encouragement to get going on your day in the morning without dragging it out. Because, I mean, if I stay in my pajamas all day, or even till like 10 o'clock, like I'll get busy working on something and all of a sudden I look down, I'm still in my pajamas, and it just feels gross. I feel unproductive. I feel useless. There's just a lot of different ways that I feel. Other people may not feel that way. I know not everybody thinks like me, but there's the man he's an admirable. He probably is admirable too. Admiral William McRaven. There's a video, and
Holly.
Sorry. Holly feels strongly about this too. He's laughing at me saying admirable. He spoke at the University of Texas graduation years ago, and there was a video that was, I don't know if it came before that or after that, but it's called Make Your Bed. I couldn't find it, but I found his speech and listened to his speech again. And he says, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. And his point is not necessarily that you have to make your bed in order to be a good and productive person, because I don't think, some people just, they don't. I do. And I like a made bed, but a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to get back in it at night. But what this man says, this admiral says, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. And he says, you have, if you make your bed, you've accomplished the first task, and it will encourage you to accomplish another one and accomplish another one. It just gives you this little sense of accomplishment, and it kind of gets you going on your day, not just making your bed, but just getting up, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, and make an effort with yourself to be productive. Now, I have to sit with my coffee before I get up and get dressed, but there's a limit to that. I have a time limit. But he says it gives you a small sense of pride, and it reinforces the fact that the little things in life matter. And I think that that's true. If you can't do the little things well, then how are you going to do the big things? And I got to thinking, in all of the different areas of the service, they talk about making their beds, and you have to be able to bounce a quarter off of it or whatever. So it's not just throwing the covers up. I mean, they're pretty particular about how the bed is made, because it's not about having a made bed. I believe it's about responsibility. It's about just being able to do something well. I think there's a lot of lessons that they're trying to teach these new, whatever they're called, cadets, or I don't know, because don't have a military background, but it's not just about having a made bed. It's about organization. It's about accountability and responsibility and discipline and all of those good things that the military teaches people. So get up, prepare for the day. And I just think when we do those little things, it makes us more apt to say yes about things. Like if you get up, get dressed, and then you get a phone call and says, can you meet me for whatever, you're already dressed. So you're going to be able to say, okay, I can meet you down there. But if you've got a 45-minute process of getting your shower and getting dressed, so I think this might look a little different for everybody. But my point is prepare yourself early in the day to be productive, pray about it and think about, make your list for the day of things that you want to accomplish. Because I just know how I feel when I prepare to accomplish things rather than when I just drift through the day. Sometimes we need a day like that just to kind of chill. But usually, don't you, after you have a day like that, aren't you ready to get going again the next day with something a little more productive? I mean, that's how I feel usually. So mine is get up, get dressed, and make your bed.
Yeah, I mostly like it.
Mostly. Yeah.
Uh,
My mother, I've said this before too. She trained me to make my bed in the morning, and if I didn't before school, when I got home, I was not allowed to watch Gilligan's Island. So
Gilligan's
that's a
Island.
joke now. If I walk in on her room and her bed's not made, I'll say, "No Gilligan's Island for you," and she'll say, "I don't want to watch Gilligan's Island." So I'll find some other thing that she likes, and I tell her, "You can't watch whatever." The Pet Vet. She likes Pet Vet.
Yeah, my home, if I don't have to go anywhere, my home uniform, if you will, is sweats and a t-shirt.
Hmm.
So, but I also sleep in sweats and a t-shirt. So
Yeah. Just put some
technically,
clean sweats and a t-shirt on.
yeah. But I mean, every morning I get up, I make my bed, I brush my teeth, wash my face, I do all that, put on moisturizer. I mean,
Yeah. Prepare.
I do that kind of stuff, but I don't
Hmm.
like dress up unless I have to, unless I'm going
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Get dressed for the day, not whatever you wear for the day. I just mean don't stay slovenly in your pajamas and stinky and,
Don't
and
stay stinky.
yeah, dirty, bad
Yeah.
breath, overnight breath, morning
Okay.
breath.
So shifting gears for me a little bit. My next one is to try Amazing Grass. Amazing
Okay.
Grass. It's
Oh, you mean Amazing Grace?
that also. Try that first, and then after that, try Amazing Grass. This is it's like a green powder, a super greens powder that you can throw it into your smoothie, or you can actually even put it in baked goods if you want. But there, it's wheatgrass, alfalfa, spinach. I mean, it's all kinds of things. I first started taking this or drinking it when I sat on a plane next to somebody who specialized in cancer research. And he was talking about like one of the most effective things that you could do to help prevent. Now, I since did some research and it's like there aren't really any studies that solidify this, but he claimed it was all about your balancing acidic versus alkaline foods that we take into our body and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And like sugar and all those types of things make it easier for cancer to breed in your body. But greens and all those kinds of things make it harder. And so this Amazing Grass, he just takes a shot glass of it every single day, just mixes it up in some water and downs it every single day. And I was kind of sporadic about it through the years, but for the past several months, I drink it every single day, and it gives you your antioxidants, your fiber, your vitamins, your pre and probiotics. It supports your gut health. This particular brand, Amazing Grass, is non-GMO, made in the USA, organic, and it's not expensive.
Where do you
But
get it?
you can get it online. You can get it at Sam's. I've done
Hmm.
both.
How does it
Um,
taste?
it tastes like grass. It does. I
I'm
used
gonna
to
say no.
I used to put, well, that's why it's on my list. I used to put it in a smoothie, but it makes it kind of it's a bright green, but when you
Hmm.
mix it with other things in a smoothie, it kind of looks like a baby diaper.
Hmm.
So I
You
quit
don't really
doing
like
that.
baby diapers.
A lot of things look like a baby diaper. So I quit doing that. And now I literally just every morning I take a little scoop, I mix it in the water, and I just poop, just down it really fast. And then I know overall, Neil and I are pretty good about overall eating fairly healthy, but drinking this every single day just lets me know no matter what happens for the rest of the day, I know that I've taken in those greens,
Yeah.
and that it's really good for me and it's good for my gut health. And it didn't take any effort, it didn't cost a lot of money. Um, And so I will say, here's a little tip for you if you decide to start doing this. Don't let it sit in the water because
Scum.
it just kind of thickens it a little bit. And it's a lot easier to drink if you just stir it up really quickly and then drink it down really quickly.
Like,
If
how
you,
much are we talking?
well, there's one, the scoop's only about this big. It's not very big at all. And you can do it in a whole glass, if you don't want it to taste as strong. But I like to do it in a smaller glass because I can down that in just a couple of swallows.
Mhm.
It does taste like grass. It kind of reminds me when I was a child, my mom and dad bought what was that pyramid brand that everybody was so into? Like they had
Amway?
maybe so they had the powdered milk and
Probably Amway.
vitamins and all that. Well, anyway, they were buying these little alfalfa chews. Like they were like,
Yeah.
I wanted the Flintstone
Uh-huh.
vitamins, and they were giving me these alfalfa chews that tasted like grass.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of that, except this
Yeah.
you don't have to chew; you just swallow it down. But it's really, really good for you, and it's really easy way to just know that I'm doing this one little thing every day, and it's good for my health, and it took no time at all.
And you don't have to eat anything green the rest of the day.
You don't. You probably should, but you don't have to.
Okay. I'll try it.
It's good for you.
What's the texture like? Does it
It,
dissolve?
yeah, it dissolves. But
Because
that's
the
what
way
I'm
you're,
saying. And that's what I'm saying. Just drink it really fast though, because
mm,
like while it's still spinning in the water, just drink it down. Because if you let it sit there, it's gonna start making that water a little bit thicker. Like it'll, I don't know, absorb more liquid in it, the powder or something. I don't know what it is. All I know is if I set it down and try and come back to it later, I don't want to drink it. So I just stir it
well,
up, gulp it down, and we'll call it good.
you know, in the mornings I take a multivitamin and some CoQ10 and some magnesium. And it's usually that CoQ10 is kind of like what you're talking about. It smells like that grass, that thing that you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
that your parents took.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself, I don't know what it is because I just shiver and like almost gag it back up when I swallow it. And I think, why am I doing that? Because I swallow bites of food that size all the time. Anyway, I digress, but I I don't know. I will, but I'll try it. I trust you. Okay. My next one. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. My next one is clean as you go. And it's kind of along the lines of make your bed, sort of. But this, I heard this a long time ago, just as I don't even remember where I heard it, but they talked about how much easier cleanup is if you clean as you go. And sometimes I find myself, sometimes you toss something at the trash can and it misses and you just want to walk away. Maybe you don't, but I do. But I make myself go back and pick it up and put it in the trash can because I think to myself, if I do that every time and don't pick up as I go, it's just going to be a ginormous mess at the end of the day. But even when it's in the kitchen cooking, um, if you don't just do a little bit of pickup as you're cooking, then, or if you do a little pickup as you're cooking, then there's not the overwhelming mess once you're finished with your meal. Whether it means just, like you've been chopping vegetables for a stew and you've got them all in the pot, but then there's all the tops of the onions and stuff. If you just stack them on your cutting board and go ahead and slide them off into the trash can or in the compost or whatever you use, then that part is done and it doesn't look so terrible and it's not so daunting to face that cleaning job at the end of the meal. Um, in your office or maybe it's your bills. And a lot of them are online now and don't come in paper form. But if you still have some paper, have a place to put them instead of just stacking them next to the door like a lot of times we do. Have a basket that you put them in so that there's some organized way of knowing where they are. It reduces stress to me because everything is going to be where it's supposed to be rather than I put it down there and I put that one down here and then it's all over the place. So that's sort of cleaning as you go. It's organizing as you go. Um, if there's things like I don't know if you can see, there's a basket back there by the door
Mm-hmm.
that John's keys. And if he doesn't have that, then he'll have his keys in one place. He'll have his phone and he'll have his whatever, flashlight. that basket has been helpful to him because he knows as soon as he walks in the door, he just puts it in there and then he doesn't have to go looking for it. So
Mhm.
I think for me, cleaning as I go throughout the day has helped me to not be so overwhelmed by the little jobs of or the big job of cleaning up when you get to the end of the day. On top of my dryer, I don't know why, but and you might have this too because yours is right there by your back door, but it tends to accumulate things, whether it's I have I don't know, just when people come over and I have things in the kitchen that I don't know what to do with, I tend to put them on top of the dryer to get them out of the way.
Mhm.
And so then if I don't put them away right away, how many times can I use the word away? If I don't do something with them right then they just accumulate. And all of a sudden I've got this huge pile that's sliding off behind the dryer.
Mhm.
So
Amazon boxes.
yeah, those
Mhm.
things, break them down and
Mhm.
set them outside and let Neil deal with it. That's what I do. I just toss them out the back door. John knows what to do with them. So just, it's something common sense, but clean as you go rather than uh, letting it accumulate and making it. There was at one time forever ago that I went to help clean someone's house and they had had a tragedy in the family and it was a difficult situation, but it was a mess. It was a mess. And I just felt I didn't know where to start. It was like overwhelming. It looked in one area of the house, it looked like someone had taken a bag of grated cheese and shaken it and it just flew everywhere. And it was old, it was, I thought if somebody had just taken the time to vacuum that up, it would only take a minute and then that wouldn't be there. So
Mhm.
that was probably one of those negative situations that has helped me to be a little bit more organized, is seeing what happens when you don't do things. So clean as you go. That's my fourth one.
Yeah, I've always tried to impress on the people that inhabit the same space I do.
Mm-hmm. I know that person.
Touch once, instead of laying it down on the kitchen counter when you walk in, just go ahead and put it directly where it
Yeah.
goes with, the mail or whatever you're bringing in, or your coats. When you take your coat off, go ahead and hang it up. Don't set it down on the back of a chair. And then later you have to pick it up again and
Right.
just touch it once. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard somebody say recently, it takes just as much effort to put something in the wrong place as it does to put it in the right place.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Good. I don't want to share my last one. It's not
Okay.
very hacky.
Well, my last one is very silly.
Well, I don't. Go ahead and do
Okay,
your
let me
last
give
one.
you my last one and then you can decide if you want to or not.
Okay.
Did you know that you do not have to wait for your dishwasher to be full before you run it?
No, we run ours every night though.
Well, I think that I don't know why I have this had this idea, but I always felt like if my dishwasher is not full at night, I need to wait till tomorrow. Maybe the breakfast dishes will fill it up
Mm-hmm.
and then I can run it and then I won't be wasting water and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it just led to like, oh, that's not clean. And whatever, it was my coffee pot's not clean because I didn't run the dishwasher. So just one day I realized, you know what? I can still run the dishwasher even though it's not chock full of stuff and it's okay. And I think there's probably a lot of things like that just because we grew up doing it a certain way. There's that old joke about the daughter cutting the end off the ham before she put it in the pot because her
Yeah.
mom always did because it didn't fit in her mom's pot, but she had one that it would fit. There's just a lot of things like that that I think we get in our heads that we have to do it a certain way, and we don't. We can, experiment with other ways to do things that are going to be more efficient and more helpful overall. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that's kind of a silly one. You don't have to wait for the dishwasher to be clean before you run it, but it's not just that. It's think outside the box. Think of different ways of doing things than what you've always done them.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was first married, that was one of the things that I thought was so fun about Neil is because, when you grow up in a household, you do things a certain way without even thinking about it. And you kind of
Mhm.
assume everybody else does it the same way. And
Yeah.
then when you get married, you realize, no, everybody doesn't do this, do things
Yeah.
the same way. And a lot of it's really kind of fun, you know, seeing
Mhm.
a different perspective and a different way to approach things and do things. I think it's the same with women friends when you spend time with women and you hear their routine or how they do
Mhm.
things. You know, those things that kind of make you go, "Huh, really?
Yeah.
I always did it this way. I never thought about that." You know,
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Also drives me crazy, but
Yeah. If you're going to be honest about it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway.
Still don't want to share?
It's just not very exciting. I was just gonna my one thing I do in the winter because I miss fresh things, you know, the landscape is pretty gray,
Yeah.
gray and brown. And I feel like my eyes just crave something fresh and
Color.
something green. Yeah, so I keep herbs in my kitchen. This year I was actually able to grab some from outside. I found out there are some herbs that do really well in water for a long time.
Hmm.
And so at the end of summer, I brought in Thai basil and mint, and they're still going. I tuck them in a jar of water, and they're still
Mm-hmm.
going. And I just clean out the water every now and then, and you know. But I also, you know, the kind that you can get at the supermarket, the grocery store, that
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
like little potted herbs in the
Mm-hmm.
produce section. I keep those in my kitchen, and I'll put them in a little clay pot in my window, and I've got them on my kitchen island. It just to have,
Yeah.
first of all, cooking with it makes the meal feel fresh, but just to
Mm-hmm.
have them, you know, and they grow so fast. Neil brought home a pot of chives a week and a half ago, and I had snipped off the whole, like top 2/3 of it for a meal, and it's already completely grown all back.
Wow.
So, but you know, so you can cook with it. That's great. But for me, it's just like spring is coming.
Not
until
yet,
then,
but it's
until
coming.
then, here's something green to look at and water, and you know, it just
Oh, I love that.
it's uplifting for
Yeah.
me.
I love that. In fact, I have bought rosemary before to put on
Mhm.
the kitchen island because I cook with that probably more than anything else. And you could just break off a little piece and then roll it in your fingers and smell it. And yeah, it feels like,
Mhm.
you're the gardener and I'm not, but I didn't know you could keep things just in water.
Yes, yes. And because I always felt like I needed to pot everything, but you don't. And mint and basil do really well in water. And I like to keep fresh basil because we do homemade pizza
Hmm.
pretty regularly, and we like to top it with fresh basil after it comes out of the oven. So
Yeah, good.
just,
Love it.
yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Well, I think that's it then. Do you have
Yes.
something good?
I do. It's a little bit different. This past Sunday, of course, when this airs, it'll be longer than that. But this past Sunday, Neil's Sunday morning sermon was on depression,
Mm.
and he called it navigating depression. Um, and I feel like he handled it very, very well. And he did such a good job. He even he did something completely different. He took his iPad up there because you know it's one of those topics that there can be some confusion and misunderstanding
Right,
about, especially when you're trying to approach it from a spiritual aspect. You don't ever want to leave the impression that you're saying to somebody, well, if you just prayed more,
right.
you know, it's not that at
Hmm.
all. So he was talking about just navigating as a Christian, you know, navigating depression, but he took his iPad up there because there were some things that he wanted to make sure he said
Hmm.
a certain way and didn't want to botch, you know. But um, I thought it was really, really good and very helpful. I know that most people, if it's not, you know, you yourself struggling with it, we all know and love somebody who does.
Hmm.
And so I'll share the link to that in the group
Good.
this week sometime because I think he did a great job with it.
Yeah, I would love to listen to that. In fact, if you think about it, send me the link ahead of
Okay.
time. Good deal. I'm
What's yours?
Anytime Neil handles a subject, he does it well, but
Oh.
that's good. Do you have one of these?
Uh is that for like the lawnmower?
No.
I got one for Neil for the lawnmower to when he's on the zero turn to pick up stuff, you
Oh,
know.
okay. Well, that's a good idea. I didn't think about it for the lawnmower because I just use
Oh.
it because I am of a certain height. I'm vertically challenged and I can't reach things.
Oh.
So this helps. I mean, it's pretty strong too. Like I can pick up I've got my pencil pouch here, but I use it to reach things off of my shelf in the laundry room or in my pantry that's high that I can't, obviously you've got to be careful with breakable things, but it's wide enough that you can get boxes off the shelf and I just use it for a lot of things. I know they make these that are telescoping, but I think the further out it goes, the less strength you really have. So it's probably about 3 feet long. But I love this thing. I use it quite often, and it's fun. You can pinch your husband with it too. I don't know what you call it.
Well,
A grabber?
sometimes I have a Carl, and that's what I use.
Yeah, well, he can reach
I
everything in the house.
I probably drive him crazy when he's here because instead of bothering to pull out the step stool, I keep my like replacement napkins and things like that on the highest shelf in my pantry. So I
Mhm.
have to step up on a little stool to reach them. But if Carl's here,
Yeah,
Carl,
come reach something.
come reach this.
Yeah.
Carl, can you get those dessert plates down for that?
Hmm. Where did he get his height?
We don't know. Everybody has always wondered that. It's some weird throwback, I'm sure.
Yeah, somewhere back in your ancestry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed the discussion and I
You
have some
too.
new life hacks from you. So that's going to be good for me to think about those things. Hopefully, we have been.
Drink your greens, Carla.
Oh, I don't want to, but I'll try it. Try it
Say
because you
yes.
said
You
it's
said to
good.
say yes.
Okay, I'll say yes. I will try. I will try it.
Okay.
Okay. It's been good. And for those of you who are still with us, we appreciate you listening. We hope that you will go to our Facebook group. We have an Instagram page and like and follow and subscribe. As we've often said, we're not trying to monetize anything. We just want to get the word out because we want to do something that will glorify God, that will bring others closer to Him, that will draw us closer as Christian sisters. And hopefully, we're making a little headway with that. And if we had your help, that would be great with social media. So that's what our intent is. And I think that's it. So until next time.
Keep looking up.
Okay. Love y'all. Talk to you later.